I want to preface this video by stating that in no way, shape, or form am I telling no one to worry or to take precaution or to be prepared for any potential repercussions from what's happening. In fact, I am stating that things are going to happen because the repercussions of what I'm about to state may be even worse than that of a said coronavirus pandemic. Now, with that being stated, before I get to my notes here, I just want to say that there are two videos that are prerequisites to this information that are very important. If you can't watch it now, bookmark it and go watch it later. But those two videos are how Iraq's deal with China and Soleimani are related, and let's get real about coronavirus. I will have links for both of those videos in the description, along with all the information that I'm going to be providing. Nothing is just out of my ass. I do have information to back up the things that I'm saying. Now, with that, I'm going to read directly from the summary from my notes that I've been taking over the past week. With the coronavirus scares and the Saudi flooding of the oil market, likely a direct order of Washington, one thing seems clear to me. They are driving the markets down on purpose. The real question is why? And who is to gain from this? On March 6, Russia rejects the cut in oil production suggested by OPEC due to the damage it would have on its shale industry. OPEC and its controller, Saudi Arabia, which is a puppet of the United States and Israel, knew they would reject, giving them a false justification to flood the market with oil production, knowingly driving down the price of oil and thusly forcing the world economy into a dive. March 11th, 3/11 and 9/11 being dates used for major false flags, keep that in mind. The World Health Organization declares coronavirus a pandemic, with the timing and continued evidence that the virus is not only planted, but it is nowhere as deadly as the controlled mainstream and alt media are making it out to be, mortality rates likely being well below 1%. This means that it is almost certainly being used to crash world economy alongside the oil market with fear and panic. The Dow Jones is now at a convenient 33-year low and the worst trend since the Great Depression. The virus is likely man-made. My reason for saying this is the fact that the evidence is now showing that the virus could not have originated in China. Planted? On top of this, the virus has a targeting nature. People with the ACE2 protein, which is 5 times more prevalent in Asian males, is its leading target. The virus needs the ACE2 to inject RNA, thus the more ACE2 expressed in the cells, the more easily the virus is transmitted and the higher the morbidity rate. This protein is much more common in the BRICS countries, which I have already shown is a major target for the West due to their nearly unstoppable rise to the top of the oil industry. This is why the US has fought so hard to regime change and puppet Middle East countries who control the oil. They are moving on without the West into the hands of China, Russia, and Iran, etc. The US petrodollar is the only thing holding the Western economy together. Once it's gone, it collapses. This is why I think they are trying to crash the world economy. They already know without full-scale war the dollar will fail, and it is a last desperate attempt to take everyone down with it. At the very least, a controlled collapse makes it easier to control the people and to prevent uprisings. Fear the virus and trust the government. It's the virus's fault the economy sucks, not ours. Basically using the virus as a false flag for the economy. On the topic of coronavirus fears in the West, we already established that it targets the ACE2 protein, which is nowhere near as common in the West as it is in the East. This gives more reason to why the coronavirus hype is a bullshit narrative meant to control us through fear. Even Harvard mainstream studies have shown that mortality rates in the States are way oversaturated due to underreporting of cases and using a low count of 1,000 cases to some 30-odd deaths. This is all a direct attempt to scare people. The real number of cases is likely closer to that of 10 to 20,000, still an extremely low amount. With deaths still being fairly accurate because they want to, count every single one, keep in mind that elderly Asian males are heavily skewing these numbers as is, meaning if you're not an Asian male over 60, your chances of getting, and God forbid dying from COVID-19 are extremely low. Keep in mind that the CDC estimates that so far this season, there's been at least 34 million flu illnesses, 350,000 hospitalizations, and 20,000 deaths. That is from the common flu in the United States alone. Yet COVID-19 is being treated like the worst disease that has ever existed. I still refuse the common flu shot due to my distrust in my government, and the fake scare for COVID-19 could lead to tyrannical measures including mandatory vaccines, forced vax being head up by people like Bill Gates, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and not to mention Henry Kissinger, all wanting to implement the new Agenda ID 2020, where during forced vax, they insert nano ID chips to store all the person's personal data, including their income. This has already started and will surely be ramped up during this so-called pandemic. All in all, my stance has not changed on this situation. It should be very clear now that our governments are using the fear and panic to crack down on freedoms and to push their agenda. Even some of the most hardcore truth seekers can be manipulated by fear and a chance of death. So I will stand alone if I have to, in telling you to say no to government control of your rights. Be smart about it, take precautions, but be damned if you let the last of your freedoms be stripped due to a false narrative. Now that's going to be all for now. Know that YouTube, Google, and the entirety of my avenues of making revenue from my work has been chalked down to people like you. They don't want the truth out, and they don't want people like me telling the truth to prosper. So if you want to help keep this operation going, know that you can through Patreon, PayPal, Bitcoin, and Litecoin, and there will be links for all of those in the description below. Continue to keep your eyes open, and as always, this has been Tyranny Unmasked.